kind of like leads and y'all's strategy surrounding that. And we'll start with you, Marvin, because you came from a existing business, right? So can you talk about how you started having those conversations with people from a different business and how you started bringing them over to our side?
Yes, good morning, y'all. Marvin Otsoy from Reno, Nevada, and yes, when I'm just doing this because I love to take care of people, and I talk about the life insurance part of thing, the business, and I like to approach everybody about the possibility with us. Not just a one single shot and give everything. You know, you need to know your client. You need to know the person who you are going to talk with. For example, if you see kids playing around, so you can point the education thing about those kids. And also, if you see people who is just in need of a job, so you can ask for the 401k, where is sitting at? And you can, give yourself the service to the people saying, I can help you with rolling over your annuity or your money without paying any taxes at all, any penalty or something, because you are the expert. So we are the experts, so we have to have the confidence what we're going to tell people in different products. So I'm just telling people what I do for living. I can help with this, with that, just like advertising myself, telling what opportunities they can see in my agency, in my business, because cross-selling is a big part of the business.
And you got a huge advantage, because if you're doing their taxes, you know who's got money, right?
That's an unfair advantage, I would say. Yeah, it's a good advantage for me, because I telling the clients, I can do this, and I can switch, I would say, my tax software to the life insurance software. That's a key. That's why I'm saying I have an unfair advantage, because I know both sides of the business. Nobody's going to tell me that IRA is going to give you refund or decrease your payment to IRA, but I can show them just right there. So the thing is, you can talk to your personal tax preparer, per se, and ask them, show you if you put an IRA or Roth IRA or simple IRA. You need to learn those terms, and make the research to get confidence on what you are going to talk. And ask them, can you show me if I make this contribution to my IRA, how much is going to be decreasing my payments to IRAs at the end of the year or something? So ask them, so you can absorb that knowledge and easy to transmit to your clients, if you are not a tax preparer, of course. But I was doing, because, as I said on my speech, I just needed a shot here in the US, and I was learning different stuff, how to get money, how to be wealthy, how to do this. So that's why I jumped into tax preparation things, but it's just an advantage how to use and approach both businesses.
Yeah, call the rich ones first. Belle, when you first started, you did not come from having an existing organization. So what did you do when it came to leads? How did you start?
So when I started, I would buy leads, a combination of leads, every week. I worked 1 day a week, so it's not like I got, I didn't start with like $1,000 a week, in leads. What I started with, I needed to book 10 appointments. So how many leads would it take me to book 10 appointments? So we started with a standing lead order of 50 two-year-old leads a week and 5 fresh leads a week. So I got 55 leads a week to try to book 10 appointments each week on that 1 day. And that's how I started. And I did that every week for 6 months. And then over time, you build a stack. I mean, I've been doing this 8.5 years now. I got file drawers full of leads. I used to call it my drawer of shame, the people I couldn't get a hold of, or the people I sat and didn't sell. And then I got better, and I went back to that. And now it's like gold mine. So.
Babies, do not talk about your drawer of shame. Babies, you were the #1 recruiter in all of the country last year. How does that conversation go with a new person that you've hired when it comes to lead advisement? Like, what are you advising a new person who's maybe never done insurance before?
So typically one of the things I tell people is what I did. When I came into this, I had no money for leads. I mean, we barely had credit left on credit cards to have gas to run appointments. We were 3 months behind on rent. So when people are like, you don't understand how tough it is, like, no, I do, I really do. But here's what I did. I went and got a $4,000 unsecured loan from Wells Fargo at that, sub 50% interest rate.
Yeah.
And because I wanted to create critical mass.
Sure.
And I knew if I got $4,000, I could invest $1,000 a week in leads and get started. And I tell them, I'm not telling you to do this, I'm telling you what I did. What I don't want you to do is die a slow death in this business. Buying $80 of leads and calling on those for the next 3 weeks will make you a crazy person. And don't be a lead venturer, right? Always trying to find a different lead type because that's going to be easier, or a different lead vendor because that's going to be easier. The mix that she mentioned, the 52-year-old leads and the 5 fresh leads, like there's not a lead type that escapes the work. There's not a lead type that you're gonna call that's gonna be like, oh yes, fantastic, we've been awaiting your call. We have money, we would like to purchase said product, or multiple products if you have them. God, that'd be great. We can come to where you're at if that's convenient for you. It's not gonna happen. Does it make sense? Don't try and don't fight the grind, but create critical mass. I'm not telling you to get a $4,000 unsecured loan from Wells Fargo. I'm just telling you what I had to do in the beginning. Get creative. Get creative. I help people find money for leads. People say, "Well, I hired this person, I make money for leads." Help them solve the problem. Because if they're operating at that level of scarcity, they're not going to be able to think of abundant solutions. That's your job. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's the answer.
And I want you to elaborate on that too, because that's a big piece, right? Because you'll get people who may be broke, busted, and disgusted, and it's like you have to find ways to create that money. So what are, and I know it's going to be individual, each person's situation, but what are maybe some of your go-to areas that it's like, all right, we can create some quick cash to get you liquid and investing in leads?
Yeah, so, I won't tell them what to do, I'll just offer ideas, right? Like, here's what I did. I'm not telling you to do that, here's what I did. Here's what other agents have done. Other agents have gotten a loan from grandma, grandpa, Uncle Frank to get their business started. That happens all the time in America in all kinds of businesses. Who do you know that needs life insurance? Let's start talking to the people in your warm market. In other words, like Clay, when I get a brand new recruit, I'm very clear. Like, this is a business. Either you need to find the capital to invest, or you need to create the capital through selling relationships that you have. What's the third route? There's not a third route, because you have to create the capital or find the capital. There's no, unless you have a capital ferry. That would be awesome. Like, just float around and dink, give you capital.
Then we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, right? I've been trying to be a trust fund kid for years, and it's just not working out. Unfortunately, my kids will be trust fund kids, but
Right.
either find the capital or create the capital. I've had agents sell stuff. I had an agent sell his motorcycle, right? It would be odd to be that broke and still have a third means of conveyance. Does that make sense?
Right.
Just help them solve the problem, because if they're broke, they're scarce. They can't think of abundant solutions. That's our job.
Belle, I want you to continue on talking about, because you talked about what you started with. Can you talk about how you reinvested and grew it, what that process looked like?
Absolutely. So once, you start making sales and you get, I guess, better at what you're doing, you need to scale from there. You need to scale from there. So when we get paid, the money that comes in is not my household money. That's not my family money. That's my business money. Yeah. And you have
Say that same thing exactly
Repeat.
when
That was
the
big.
money comes in, it's not your money. That's your business's money. And you have to keep your business alive so that your business can keep your family alive. So this is the golden goose that lays the eggs. If you eat the goose, you're out of eggs, right? I'm from the sticks of southeastern Kentucky. You don't eat the breed stock, right? You don't eat the breed stock. You protect that breed stock with everything you've got, right? You put a hedge around that. You put a fence around that. You guard that. You guard every dime that comes into that business account, and you feed your business first. And so when I was able, after making sales, to buy more leads, to buy an advantage. Leads are an advantage. I'm taking someone else's time and efforts and skill set and I'm purchasing that end result. A lot of people can go out there and prospect and things like that. I had 1 day a week. I needed the advantage of someone else's work on my side. And so when I would purchase leads, I would then purchase more leads because I wasn't that good. I would end up, door knocking, which takes longer. And there's nothing wrong with door knocking, guys. You do that. That is part of how we went here. But it takes more time than making the phone calls to book the appointment. So I did increase my leads, and it got to the point to where, it was just standard. We were investing $500, $750 a week into leads. And so as that stack that I had grew, you don't give up on them. They're no longer like a high priority. Your fresh leads are always your first priority, but once you dial through those 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the afternoon, and 3 times in the evening, and you ain't got enough appointments, you go deeper into that stack. The things from last week that you didn't get a hold of, the things from the 2 weeks before you didn't get a hold of, because you're building that stack over time. But as you get better, you don't let off the gas on how you're investing in your business, because that's how you plateau and stagnate. You want to keep creating capital in your business so that you can hire staff. So now if you're at the point where like I'm investing and my income coming into that account now pays the leads, how much would it be for me to hire a part-timer? I need to start accounting for that. So I'm gonna need more leads to make more money so I can grow my business. I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for.
That was good.
I like it. Marvin, you covered this a little bit in your talk, but I want you to talk a little bit more about like maybe some of the non-traditional ways that you create clients, because it's obviously really effective. So we'd like to hear that.
Yeah, in my case, it was community involvement in different aspects. Sports, for example. So I love to go and get a match, soccer. So eventually I was just coaching the teenagers and doing it. So community involvement into the school, community involvement at church, community involvement in activities around the cities, around town, gave me a way to connect to people. And that connection is giving me the leads. I would say not free leads, because I was investing my time in this case, my time. It was a time management in my career, because I was taking time from my family at the beginning, because I needed to create those leads. And I was telling years before with Terry Edwards, I love to say this, follow the dollar. So when I follow the dollar at the beginning, I'm trying to say, if I'm getting a plumber to fix something in the house and I pay it, I go after my dollar. And offer IULs, offer term, offer any product. If I got an electrician into the house,
Everybody's applying.
immediately I'm
Yeah.
trying to recover my money.
I know that's right.
At the restaurant, I put my business card. If you quit your job, I can hire you.
I can hire you anyway.
If you move and switch jobs, I can help you to make the 401k roll over into an existing account that you can see on your home. You have your account right there and you can see it. So I'm just in love what I'm doing on a daily basis, and Andy is teaching me about that. I just give opportunity to everybody and give me a shot to meet people with a purpose. So that's why I started my list over there, and the radio and TV, because I was, giving advice to the community about financial education things, little tips. I remember a Christian radio station going twice during the week and just giving advices to them. That, with a purpose, I was investing my time, because leads are there everywhere. But the thing is, you need to put that mentality here, attitude. Don't be shy, it's attitude. What I do for living, and give your business card and pass it around town. I started a business that way and keep doing it. Now I'm using those leads or clients, I will say, as my messengers. Because once I plant the seed in that particular client and eventually get positive with me, so I'm telling them, just go to your family, to your friends, and say that I'm here to help people. So I'm using my clients as my messengers and spread the word. It's multiplication business. It's faster than adding to the business.
I like it. I've heard Andy say everybody's either got a policy number or an NAA number on their forehead. Get them all. Davies, coming back to you. You can get a bunch of leads, but if you do not call them, they are not going to magically turn into money. Can you talk about like that activity conversation and maybe your mindset around activity and leads?
Yes. But first, if I'm ever gonna get bad news, I want Marvin to tell me.
Right?
I still won't like it, but I'll just feel better.
Right. His voice is so soothing.
Love listening to talk, bro. So, be very straightforward about activity. Anytime that you are like wussy-footing around about tough stuff, you make your job exponentially harder. The time to be direct and clear is early. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's like when someone all of a sudden wants to start parenting and the kid's already 12. Yeah. Yeah. Tell me how that goes. It's too late, you blew it. So with recruits, I'm the same way. I'm very clear about you either got to find capital or create capital. So same way with activity. You've got to make $50 an hour. If you're not making $50 an hour, you're not truly trying. The reason being, especially when they're new, I need them too busy to worry. Right?
That's good.
If you look at most agents' activity, here's how it would look. I'll just use my fake phone. They'll pick up a lead, they'll study on it, they'll think about it. Okay, then they'll start dialing. Okay, this is a different one. Let's see. You know what I'm saying? Here's the problem. Any pauses in activity is where doubt, worry, and fear live, right? No one's ever running full speed on a treadmill and all of a sudden go, I think I'm depressed. Right? When do we get depressed? When we're laying around doing nothing. So the same thing with the new agent. I need them so busy that they don't have time to think. So I tell them $50 an hour is the standard. If you don't live up to that, that's a choice you're making to be less than you could be. Anybody can dial $50 an hour. It's even easier now than it used to be because you can just red button again, and you're back. We used to have to actually press the numbers, right? I used to have two cordless phones so that when the one died, I could go right to the other. Does that make sense? Like, 'cause you had to push buttons back in the day. So $50 an hour, very clear about that. And if you're dialing, don't put on your calendar, I'm dialing from 8 to 12. You need to put a number to go with that. 8 to 12 is how many hours? Let's do the math. How many hours is it? If we're dialing $50 per hour, how many dials needs to happen between 8 and 12?
That's good.
Exactly. And help them with that, because they'll just put dialing for 4 hours, and guess what? They'll make 32 dials in 4 hours. And they'll be ready to kill themselves. If they make 200 dials, something will happen.
Yeah. That's good.
Belle, do you have any personal secrets for like maintaining a high level of activity? Like, what are the things that just like force you into just killing it?
My pregame show. So being in Belle Cross's office before she dials is something that very few have witnessed. But, I'm going into battle. And so I prepare for battle. And it's not just the logistics of I've got my leads, I've got my phone and my charger, I've got my activity book. It's not just the logistics, it's the mindset. When on my dial day, I'll get up that morning and there's a playlist that I listen to, because you can't leave that to chance. I learned that from Stephen Davies. I have a specific set of songs I listen to before dialing, and they are all empowering songs to me, songs that remind me who I am and what I'm fighting for, songs that will pick me up and get me in the right mind, so that when I know and I go in there and I pick up that phone, I'm not calling leads. I am responding to a plea for help, and I'm the only one left to help them. I'm the only one left. And if you go in there with that mentality, it's not a burden. You are a first responder. You're just getting there before the emergency happens. And so if I don't get to them fast enough, somebody's going to die. If I don't get to them fast enough, somebody's going to get cancer and not have a policy. If I don't get to them fast enough, somebody's going to be in a hospital and not have a hospital indemnity plan, right? If I don't get to them fast enough, people die on the battlefield. And so when I go in there and pick up the phone, that is my battlefield. And my proficiency and my efficiency will determine who dies on my watch.
Wow.
Who dies on my watch? I can't let that happen. I can't walk out and tell my family, I let them die today. I can't do that.
Wow.
And that lasts me for about 50 dials. And then I gotta do it again. And I will stand up and I'm like, do not open that door. You hear whatever you hear on the other side, do not open that door because I'm getting in my zone, right? You know, and we've joked about like, oh, I'm sexy when I dial, and my husband thinks that's not how I go into my fight. But how do you go into a fight? You don't just, you know, grab your cup of coffee and walk in there and got your stack of leads. Go in there roaring like a lion. This is yours to take from an enemy who's trying to rob you of a blessing that is sitting there for you. What God has for you, He has for you, and no one can take it from you, but they can trick you into not picking it up.
Hello.
Get in there and pick it up.
That was awesome. It's a ritual, right? It's like a pregame ritual, like you described it. You think about a football field, going onto the field, they're playing music, there's a band. Like that's how y'all need to be. Is you have to have your ritual. It might be different than Bell's, but you're going to have your own ritual, and you have to create it. Marvin, similar question about kind of activity, but you've got different things going on in your life, different businesses. How do you manage the activity in each business that way you stay scheduled?
That's a great question because we have to manage our time management. Family time, quality time. Business time, quality time with the business. And combine both. So I'm combining my activities between family, church, sports, and business. And one thing is, or just giving it a little secret of what I'm doing is, when you are in the business already, you can offer policy reviews. And I love to use IUL illustration, cover the principles, the name, probably the age, or something private from the client, and show to the client, look, 5 years ago, this client commit to $300 a month, $400 a month. 5 years later, if you can see what the original illustration is telling and what is going to happen now, it's very close. It's not exactly the same, but it's very close. So that builds trust because you're showing them with real testimonies what is going to happen with a kid who started the IUL at 1 year old, 2 years old, something like that. So showing that that statement gives you the credibility and give more business to you. Ask for more business because nobody is going to say, that's right, or what happened in the economy. So I will tell him. So it is. We were doing this during COVID, with the COVID, and see the policy, the performance of the policy is great. I was doing it before, even in the bad days for the real estate team, and the minimum rate that I saw was 3.2, 3 point something like that. Never is negative. So when I show to the clients the results after a few years, builds trust. And of course, give more referrals my way. That's the thing that I'm doing when the months are kind of slow, trying to do my activity to go back again with more sales. It's just advising people. I know, we want to sell, But sometimes the approach is not going straight to the sale, but just give advice and show them how different things are going. And I'm not doing just IULs, but it's just for saying that you can do it with different products, mortgage protection, hospital indemnity, anything else, but just reviewing it, give us a chance to increase the sale and cross-sell and give more than one product into the same household, maybe 5, maybe 6, like Megan Wood is doing. So we need to copy and paste whatever works for us, for you, for me, so I can implement what Bell is doing, what Davis is doing with the team. Wow, I will follow that, those advices too.
Let's stay on the product side with you, Marvin, because this is a question I get a lot. What are kind of your go-to products for people that don't have a Social Security number?
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that's the thing. We have companies that work with people with no Social Security number, but they have to have the taxpayer identification number, the IT or ET for IT. So that's very important. So companies, probably I'm not going to mention all of them, but I'm familiar with F&G, with Foresters, with American Amicable, so different process. But the thing is, every person needs an item. And in order to do that one, they need to identify themselves with an official picture ID. Even if it's the passport, which is the best, or any other state ID. Or even the companies taking valid official ID from the country. And there are also companies even do the questionnaire about that person. If that person has established here in the US, how long is living here, and things like that. Like you need to answer. And if they don't have item number, guess what? I raise my hand. I can get the item for you guys. I'm telling the clients that. Because I'm a tax preparer person.
Right.
And also I'm a certified acceptance agents before the IRS. So I can find those. It's a process. I'm just going to.
So it's not like a same day, I can sign up for an I-10 and then I can tell you policy.
Yeah,
Not like
it is
that.
not.
Okay,
It is not.
all right. You listed off a couple of companies, but I want you to give us your favorite company that's easiest to deal with when it comes to Social Security.
So in my case, F&G has been the easiest. Why? Because they have bilingual staff. For policy interviews, for example, they can use the bilingual staff there. I don't know, I just created a relationship with that company, and they are working smoothly with me. So it's okay, it's doing great.
Good. And in the context that Marvin does a ton of IULs as well. So F&G, when it comes to IULs, I know Foresters is great as well. I'm not sure on the guaranteed side who's good with the Social Security. Belle, when it comes to like coaching a new agent, what are maybe your like core products when it comes to final expense?
So with final expense, we usually start most people with Mutual of Omaha, and then Corebridge / AIG, because you can get a lot done with those two to start with. And then the third one we usually move into is CVS. And the reason we add on CVS is because there's no high weight chart on there, so sometimes that's a limiting factor for a lot of people. And so one of the things we do is we don't try to get everybody contracted with all the carriers. You just start with those. We like Mutual of Omaha because they have a term, they have the IULE, they have the final expense, and then they have critical illness. They got a lot of product lineup, and the e-apps become very familiar. So you learn to use the tools in that box very well. Corebridge AIG, because of their guaranteed issue that's on there, you're going to run into people that other carriers are not going to cover. And then, like I said, CVS is more lenient with the height, weight, and sometimes with diabetes and things of that nature. And so those are our three ones that we start them with. And then we always train our agents. Everyone gets a two-part plan. Everybody gets a two-part plan. So when you're running that in-home, everybody gets a core product, whether it's final expense, which is just a moderate risk whole life or a term. And then they either get an accidental death policy to go with it, if they're ages 17 to 70 or 18 to 70, they get the accidental death to go with it. If they're over 70, you can't write the accidental death, but you can write cancer, heart attack, stroke. Hospital indemnity is guaranteed issue for ages 60 through 79. Mutual of Omaha's accidental death is guaranteed issue for ages 18 through 70. So that's two products I know they will not get declined on, that they can get to go with whatever other policy we got. If you're already there working, always be thinking two-part plan. So when we're doing like the heart attack and stroke and things like that, that add-on policy, once we've written the final expense, okay. So, Millie, we have taken care of that final expense plan today, so your daughter will have enough money that she won't have to wipe out her savings when that time comes. She'll be able to take the time off work, she'll be able to pay that final electric bill and get everything handled just the way you wanted it to. Now let me ask you this, what if something happens and you don't die? What if you get cancer and you don't die? Would she want to come help you if that happens? Would she have to take time off for that too? Let's get you a plan in place that will pay you a lump sum of $10,000 or more if you're diagnosed, so she can come and be that support that you would want from her at that time. And again, she doesn't have to wipe out her savings for that. Let me show you what that looks like real quick. Two-part plan.
Do you go big check first always? Like, do you go for the larger check, which is typically the final expense policy?
Always keep the main thing. That's what they've asked for help on that first. The only time that I really don't do that is if you get somebody in there and we've all run into them, I don't care, I'll be dead. They can figure it out. They ain't helped me on this side, why should I help them on the other? Right? Well, we have clients like that. Oh, Mr. Gary, I understand. You must have been inquiring about our living benefit plans, the plans that pay you money if something happens and you're still alive. I understand now completely. Let's go through those plans instead. And then you just pivot into that.
Ladies, when I know you do a lot of policy reviews and some virtual sales as well, are there products that you really like that you find are easy over the phone, especially in that context, doing a policy review?
Mutual of Omaha, IULE is a fantastic product. It's the universal life that I would sell my grandma. That product. So one thing to know about it, it has actually outperformed illustrated interest rate. So when you run that illustration on Easy Solve,
Yeah.
it's good to go. You don't have to worry about it. If someone's looking for permanent death benefit, that is my go-to product. One tip I'll give you if you're dealing with older folks on that, trying to walk them through the two-step e-signature process is kind of a pain in the butt and hard for them. DocuSign is easier. You can simply go to, like you're gonna print off the application, open it in Chrome, it's fillable, type in all the information and send them a DocuSign where you can teach them how to just tap. So and it goes up to age 75. If you got a healthy person in their 70s, late 60s, that's one of my go-to products. Because you'll find people that only have term or coverage through work, and then I like to walk them through, what are you aware of what happens at the end of a term? I think so, but can you tell me? Oh yeah, so here's what happens. So at the end of a term, that policy is over. All your money's gone. You got to start all over. The upside of term is that the payment's lower while you have it. The downside is that when it comes to an end, it's abrupt and it's really pretty brutal. And the problem is now you're 30 years older, and if the doc has added scripts, that's where it gets tough. The other thing that stacks on that is that you want to retire. Now your life insurance at work goes away. And that really jams up and shocks seniors. I have them call me and they're looking for life insurance, and I'm the one delivering the bad news that it's $1,500 a month for something they would want, and I go that high for a reason. So that's the real downside. With permanent, the downside is that you're going to pay more per coverage. And when you give up the downside ahead of time, then they stop searching for it, right? It's called negativity bias. We all do it. So the upside of permanent, however, and then I walk them through, in retirement, then you've got that taken care of. You've got that knocked out. I'll add 100,000, 150,000 IULE to folks all the time. And then once you do that, then we start talking about retirement. What are we doing for retirement? And it's funny, I will have just put an IULE in place for $120 a month. And then we start talking about retirement, and all of a sudden they find another $400 a month for an IU, for F&G Path Setter is kind of my go-to on that. I like asking them, you have to talk about job, you find out about previous jobs, find out how much they're contributing to a 401k. I just wrote one where the guy was contributing 10% to his 401k. They only had a 3% match, and I said, hey man, you're already doing something really smart. My favorite types of money, I got 3 favorite types of money. Free money is my favorite. Tax-free money is my second favorite. Tax-deferred is my third favorite. So get that free money, get that match, but let me show you how to take that extra percent and let's turn it into tax-free, my second favorite type of money. And you can write IULs. And here's the thing, when you find good clients, move in with them. Do you know what I'm saying? Don't just make one sale and then move on. If they didn't bat an eye at Living Promise on her for $82 a month and a Living Promise on him for $138, if they didn't bat an eye at that, then move in with that client. Because one, they've got more money, they need more assistance, and guess who all their friends are?
Same.
Yeah, likes, right? So that's the people I want to do extra sales on, get referrals on. When you find those people, slow down. Don't just be in such a hurry to get to the next client, because then you leave them vulnerable to the dregs of our industry, which is so many of these insurance agents out here are just scumbags. I don't want to leave them vulnerable. Does that make sense? So I want to take care of everything I can for them.
That was good stuff. Belle, somebody asked me earlier about when you come across a client that's already got an existing life insurance application, how do you, A, review that, and how do you make the insurance company the bad guy?
So first of all, to review it, you've got to ask for the paperwork, right? And a lot of times people are nervous about asking, because you're concerned, what if they don't go get it? Well, I was concerned what if they did. Like, I didn't know what I was looking at when I first started. So I pulled out my own policies. So pro tip, review your own policy first.
Yes.
Look and see what those pages look like.
Mhm.
Know what a summary page is. Know where the definitions are. Know what those definitions mean.
Right.
Right? Like, read that. You know, if it has something in there like a conversion period, like, what does that mean? You're the professional, so learn that. So when you're reviewing that policy, these are the things that you're looking for. What type of policy is it? Right? Is it term? Is it whole life? Is it an IUL? How long ago did they get it? Right? So what's the issue date on there? What is the face amount on there? And what is the premium on there? And then you're going to ask the client, what was your intended purpose with this $100,000? What was your intended purpose with this $100,000? Because I promise you, people already having insurance is your benefit, not your obstacle.
Yeah.
They already believe in it. They got it for a reason. Don't assume it's the reason that you're there. Right? We have different tools in our toolbox. Hammers, screwdrivers, wrenches, all that stuff, right? They do different things. This is the piece they got for something. Find out what it is. And then we're going to find out, is it a solid plan through a solid company? So you're going to call the carrier with the client. You're going to put it on speakerphone. And then you're going to go through and you're going to ask them some standard questions. You're going to ask them things like, does the premium on this ever change? If so, when and by how much? Some people have things called 5-year renewables. The price goes up every 5 years. Now, if you look in the policy, there should be a page that shows it, or you can just turn around and show them. This is what's going to happen when you turn 50, 55, 60, 65. It's just going to keep going up, right? The other thing you want to ask is, does the death benefit ever change? And if yes, when and by how much? Because some people have decreasing term, or it's a decreasing whole life. Like at a certain age, the death benefit drops a certain amount, so the price stays the same, but now the benefit goes down. And you're just going to ask this stuff on speakerphone, or you're going to find it in writing. But you're not going to tell them, even if it's a policy that I've seen 100 times and I know it's trash, I'm not going to tell them that.
That's right.
I'm going to have the policy paperwork itself tell them,
Yeah.
or the carrier rep on the phone tell them.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that carrier rep says, yeah, it's going to go up in 5 years, I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm.
How much?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Get lapse ages on ULs, call in and get that, because most
That's
of them are underfunded and they'll
Yeah.
be shocked.
When you're reviewing an IUL, it's very important you ask those additional questions, right? Because they've been paying the same price the whole time. They never look at that annual statement. They just see if they have cash in there or not. They're not reading into that next paragraph that says, if you stay on this path, this is how old it is when it lapses, right? And so you're going to ask that carrier, what age is it currently projected to lapse? What age is it currently projected to lapse? You're going to ask them, if they increase the premium, how much would they need to increase it by in order to keep it in force for X more years, right? You may have to order new illustrations on there. But you always want to ask those questions over the phone so that the client hears the company giving them the bad news. You're not the bearer of bad news. You're their partner. They're helping them find the facts. You're on their side. You're going to take care of them.
Good stuff. Please give it up for these closers. Absolutely.